Happy Monday, everyone. Today we're going to be talking about overcoming objections. And again, you can find the manual and the PowerPoint in the Career Den in the library. And if you have any questions about that, just let me know. And I'd like to welcome Ann Silverman from our Framingham office, who is going to help us with understanding all of this today. This is going to be an interactive class. We are going to talk about the scripts that you would use for the situations that you might be in. And if you have any questions, please send them to the live chat and we will try to get them answered as well. So there are a lot of different people to follow, to learn from as you're understanding overcoming objections. David Knox, Mike Ferry, Tom Ferry, Daryl Davis, Dirk Ziller, and Brian Buffini. So it's important to understand that objections are opportunities. So look at the objection as a positive way to have conversation. When a buyer or a seller gives you an objection, he is presenting you with an opportunity to close. Make sure that you hear clearly what the person is saying. If you interrupt the objection wrong, the answer you give, no matter how eloquent, will not be sufficient to overcome their area of concern. So I remember hearing a quote that said, "Listen twice as often as you talk." And especially when you're receiving an objection or a concern from a client, you want to listen to what their objection is so that you get an understanding of it. Always affirm the objection. So you say, yes, I understand what you're saying. Yes, I understand what you've been through, or whatever it is.
Or sometimes, if I could interject, you may even want to use that active listening and paraphrase what you want, you believe the objection is, so they can also confirm that you do understand it. Does that make sense?
You also confirm that you're listening.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And I think that adds to the respect in the situation, because you're not jumping right in with trying to solve the problem. You need to have that first step where you're affirming what they're saying. Ernie, are you lost?
No.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure. So again, confirm what their objection is to ensure that you understand it, which if you do that confirmation, they might add another comment to it, you know, when they're trying to explain what the story was. Avoid the mistake of trying to answer the objection before the buyer or seller gets the objection completely out of his mouth, what we just said. The objection is legitimate to that person, no matter how ridiculous it may sound. Interrupting can cause the seller or buyer to become irritated with you. It may not be how well you handle the objection if you interrupt him. Thank you for doing that. That was Jordan's job, you forgot.
Yes.
Your mental approach to an objection will determine your success or failure. Most agents dread hearing an objection, but most objections result from one of two situations. One, the seller or buyer has legitimate concerns regarding the property and or your skill to sell his home. Or two, the occurrence of objections is because your presentation was not good enough. You did not convey the confidence that you are the person for the seller to hire for the sale of his home. I was thinking more of expired listings, but we will get into that as well. Usually with the expired listing, and we'll go through that script, they didn't have a good experience with their last agent. And so you're definitely going to hear why. You know, well, she never talked to me, there was no communication, they never did open houses, whatever it was, and there'll be a list a mile long, and you're just going to affirm all of those objections. The client's desire to work with you is a natural ending to a good presentation. If the presentation is weak, the objections will flow like a river. Get good with your presentation and get great at overcoming objections, and you will have mastered a great deal of this business. Remember last week we talked about the listing presentations. They're in Career Den, in the library. That's there for you to use. Look it over, have it ready, have an understanding of what's in that, because that represents you and represents your company. And a lot of times that can help alleviate concerns that they might have before they even come up, by them saying, by parts of the listing presentation saying what you will do. Talks about the 4,200 minutes that it takes to go through a transaction, all of these different things. If you, what this is saying is, if you have not the script, but the presentation memorized, and you understand what you're saying about what you're representing, about you, about your company, about the job you are going to do to be their trusted advisor through the transaction, it's going to make you more confident. Too many agents adopt the position of a deer looking into the headlights when an objection comes their way. These agents have a negative mental attitude toward objections. They view objections as a big wall between them and the sale. We really need to turn that around. Join the ranks of highly skilled and highly professional realtors. Change your mental approach to objections through practice, and you will always look forward to the opportunity to receive them. You know, understand that when they voice an objection to you, you're getting to understand them better. Meaning what their priorities are, maybe what an obstacle is to a goal that they're trying to get to. Let's get started. So we're going to go through these one by one, and feel free to chime in if you've had an experience with it, or if you have a thought about it. I just lost the live questions. Good. If I list and sell with you, will you cut your commission?
That happens all the time.
Ooh. I can appreciate the question, but as a full-time real estate professional, for the sake of my business and my family, I need to be compensated fairly for my time. I know there are some agents that would say yes to your request, but consider this. If an agent is willing to cut his or her commission, how well do you think they will do when it comes to negotiating the best price for your home? Don't you love that? See, Ernie's nodding.
Absolutely.
What experiences have any of you had with that?
I've never had that experience of someone saying, cut your
Really? Wow. That's
I do
interesting.
more on the buyer's side, that's probably why.
Oh, okay.
But even the buyer, in all due respect, has objections.
Oh,
Yep.
different
So-
objections,
Yeah.
yes.
I'd say it's about 30% for me. I'd say about 1 in 3 people has brought it up. I've never gone that far. I generally have just looked at them and said, this is what my time is worth. If you're okay with that, we can move forward. And I've never taken it past that, and I've never once had an issue once that statement has come out. But there are different people in the world, and I haven't come across, and I would if I had to tap into some of that.
But I think this is a good
I think it's
point.
great.
I think this is a good point to make, to positively argue it, that you want a good negotiator on your side if you're listing your home. And if I'm going to negotiate my commission, how strong am I going to be to represent you when we're negotiating offers?
Absolutely.
Great.
That's
Absolutely.
a good point.
And there are times, however, like I've actually offered that to repeat clients who have referred people to me. It's kind of like a big thank you, you know. I will sell you a house, and I will list your house at a slight reduced commission of 0.5%. And, you know, so take 2% to me and I'll still pay out 2.5%. But I do that as out of the goodness of my heart to special clients.
Special. All right, so this says, so this other agent is willing to do the sale for 1% less than I am. That amounts to about $2,500, correct? Let me ask you this. If that agent was so quick to give away $2,500 of his own money so quickly, how quick is he going to give away thousands of your money when it comes to negotiating with another party on the sale of your home?
Good point.
That's awesome.
It gets them to think of it in a whole different light. You want somebody strong on your team. Remember what I said, you're representing yourself and you're representing the company.
I like this next one. I think it's funny.
You want to read it?
Sure. I know this isn't going to happen, but let's say you're going to need to have brain surgery done. Now, understand money is important, but you look in the paper and you see an ad like this week's special, brain surgery, 20% off. Would you call this doctor and have it done by that doctor? What do you think?
No.
Probably not, right? I mean, some things are too important to discount. You wouldn't do that. So I'm assuming that selling your house and moving to where you want to move is one of the biggest investments and financial things you're managing in your life at this time, right? So trust me, you don't want to leave this in the hands of a discounted service agent.
Good point.
That's good.
See?
Can
It's
you
a fun
email-
one.
Can you email us that or print something out? Let's look.
Yeah,
It's-
I'll send you the. I will send you the
Did
PowerPoints.
you ever hear of Howard Britton? I don't know if you go back.
I have heard of him. Yep, go ahead.
He was a great trainer, okay? Maybe he's one of the way back coaches, you know, out of an antique, you know? What he did, okay, he would pull out a dollar bill. You ever see that one?
No, go ahead.
He would take the dollar bill and say, this goes to the other company, okay? This goes to my broker. This goes to MLS and advertising. What part of this do you want to take away from my family?
There you
And
go.
I use it quite a bit and it goes over pretty good. Another one that I learned is you take a piece of paper and you play, let's play real estate agent to the seller, the other real estate agent. So you put in here 2%, 3%, 4%. So if you was out there selling, which one would you like? They always pick the 6%.
See?
You know, kind of makes them think a little bit.
And
It
I've,
does,
I've
it does.
used, like, if you're going to your dentist tomorrow and you need 2 fillings, are you going to turn to your dentist and say, are you going to do 2 for 1 today?
Yeah, well, I like those with the brain surgery. So if you can get us something, that's good. Huh?
Same thing. Another agent said I could list for 50,000 higher. I know that it's confusing when different agents come in with different pricing options. In fact, it is not difficult to work the MLS data to come up with a large range of numbers. There are many agents out there that don't have a lot of listings, and they will sometimes tell a seller what they want to hear simply to get the listing. They will worry about the price reductions down the road. So just a side note on that, tomorrow we have a guest appraiser coming. So we're going to learn the important role that the appraiser plays in the transaction. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, it isn't the price that you wish it could be. It's not the price I wish it could be. We have to think of how the appraiser is going to think when he does his work for the buyer's bank. So that's exactly what this is saying. I mean, some agents might offer you, oh yeah, I'll list it for 25,000 more if you'll list with me. And they're not being realistic and they're not being fair to the seller because the listing price should go by what the proven comps are at that time.
And that's when that slide actually in many of our market analyses is very important, like the one where it kind of goes to a big mountain and then it kind of goes down, 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 because most of your buyers are coming in within the first week it's on the market. And then you become an island in the real estate market the longer it sits on the market. So it's very important to have your clients understand that you really gotta put your best foot forward from the day one and not have price reductions. You really want to sell it in the first week if you
Well,
have.
how do you get the client to listen to those variations and come up with an answer? Where
Well,
it's comfortable.
I've had a few situations that I was lucky enough to actually have. One example was I had a listing on Roberts Road in Ashland, and I convinced my sellers to put it on for, people search in increments. So when you're in like the 300 range, people might search up to 350, and that's it. So, if you list it for 355, you might not be getting any of those buyers that are only searching up to 350. So that's an important psychological thing I bring to the table when speaking to sellers. So this one listing I had, somebody put on a listing on Roberts Road 2 weeks before me, and he put it on for 365. Same exact house, but I was higher up the street. I convinced my people, and it was on for 2 weeks already, and it didn't sell. So I told my people, 350 is your max, and if we put it on for 350, we're apt to get more because we're going to get a lot more buyers in. I had 30 some odd showings on that Saturday, to the point where Bill down the block, the listing agent over there, he actually put a sign up all day and sat there all day so people would come in from my house to his house. My listing actually also sold his. But the funny thing was, his was on for 365, it sold for 350, mine was on for 350, and it sold for 362.
Wow.
So that's,
a
and I
great story.
I have this, so I bring this with me, and I mean, here you go. And then I tell them it's the buyers that control the sale price, not me and not you.
Well, it depends upon the buyer, because I deal a lot with buyers, and the buyers, a lot of them have their own features. They're looking for the bottom price. They'll come in and say, well, offer them 100,000. I can
Well,
say that. You can't do that, 100,000 or less.
Well,
50,000.
they could do whatever they want, and, you know, you really kind of like have to present it, if, you know, in most cases. Oh, my phone's ringing somewhere.
Well, sometimes people will come in, and if it's 350, and say that's their budget, and it goes to 370, they'll go for the 370 and knock them down to 350.
Well, if it's been sitting on the market, you might be apt to do that, and you might be able to do that. But if it's brand new to the market, like weekend one, and you're going to make an offer of 100,000 less, I mean, okay, I hate the word insulting. I never really use it when people say that's an insulting offer. No, what's insulting really is not writing an offer. That means your house is yuck and I'm not writing an offer. That's insulting. Writing an offer, no matter how low, it's a compliment. I like your house. I'd like to live
You
there.
have to submit all offers,
Right. So, you know.
as long as it's written, not verbal.
But then it's up to you as their agent to decide how long do you want to stick with people that are going to continually make offers that you know are not going to get accepted because it's your time as well.
That's true.
Good point.
In the market like we are in today, the amount of money you get for your property will depend heavily on the number of eyeballs we get on the property when we initially list it. The more eyeballs, the more offers, the better the price. Exactly what Ann was saying. The worst thing you can do is price high. You will end up chasing the market down. I wonder what the other sellers on Roberts Road were saying to that other agent about why they priced it the way they did.
It was fun. I will say it was fun.
Now we're going to see both sides of the spectrum here. You have so many listings. How can you give our listing the attention it deserves?
I'm sorry. I was
All right, I'll do
double
it.
tasking.
That's all right. 3 weeks from now, I think you'll be looking back and thinking that one of the biggest advantages I bring to the table is my other inventory. You see, the more signs I have on the street, the more calls I get from buyers, and most of those buyers don't buy the house they call about. And also remember that at LAER, all calls for the listing come to you, the listing agent. So that's an important factor.
And that's something very important to sell.
Yeah.
Okay? I have done this at listing appointments. I have called Caldwell Banker, who still does uptime. And agents sit there and answer the phones to try to get buyers. They're not interested in selling you the house you're calling on. They're interested in getting you in the door to sell you a house, any house. And it's interesting. So I have called Caldwell Banker about one of their listings at listing appointments on speaker with my prospective sellers sitting right there, and I'd ask about this property to prove to them that the person answering the phone doesn't even know the property, maybe has never been in the property. So I'd say, okay, well, when you walk in, is it, does it feel like a big open space, or does it feel kind of boxy? Is there a wall right there? Do you walk right into the stairs, or are the stairs set back? I ask specific questions that I know they can't answer. And they go,
That's
well,
great.
that's really a matter of opinion, they'll say, because they have no clue. They pull up the listing and they read. It has 4 bedrooms, 2.5 baths. It has a 1-car garage. It has one window air conditioner and it's heated by gas. Well, I see all that. But what I want to know is, how does it feel when you walk in? Well, why don't you come and see it? So the difference would be us getting our phone calls directly. I know your property. I have a vested interest in selling your house, not any house. I know what it feels like when somebody walks in that door. I'm going to be able to tell them what they want to know.
That's excellent. That's excellent. In fact, if they are not interested in the home they are calling on, I look first within my inventory, this is what you would say, to find them a different one. Now, can you see the advantage of listing with an agent who has a strong inventory of other homes available? Benjamin Franklin had a quote that said, "If you need something done, ask the busy person."
And on the contrary, I've been asked, how come I don't have so many listings at one time? And I usually have an answer for that, which is, I consider myself a quality agent, not a quantity agent. I admit that I'm a control freak, and I like to service all of my clients personally, and I'm very clear on how many listings I can handle and personally service.
Can you fast forward to where we are?
That's a
Because I
great
think you would
answer.
love that one. That one, yeah, go ahead.
I want to find a house to buy before I put mine on the market. Well, that goes two ways. Okay, I know some of these are actually in here.
Go ahead.
So, do you want me to read the next
Sure,
one?
go ahead.
I agree. Finding your new home is important. And the unfortunate thing is that it could take as long as 3 months for your home to sell. Then it will take another 2 months to get all the paperwork done. And by that time, any home that you would have found will already be sold. So, there's two ways that you can work this, okay? One is finding out if they could afford to buy without selling, okay? And in that case, we're going to sign a buyer agency contract today and start looking for your home. And we're also going to possibly sign your listing contract today too, just so that it's ready to go and you're working on getting it ready to go with a non-MLS agreement so that, the contract's signed and it's to be determined when it goes in the market because they want to find a house first, okay? If they can't afford to find a house first, then you want to convince them the benefit of putting it on the market, maybe ask them about a plan. Can they move in with family? Are they willing to rent for a little while? Because once you have the money in the bank, there's no contingencies. It's cash. So anybody out there that has a contingency, and you're golden compared to them. So, or you could put it on subject to finding home of choice.
In Stacy's book, The 7 Secrets, one of the chapters talks about having that conversation with your seller at the beginning, just like Ann just said, and having the thoughts about, is there an alternative place for you to live? So what if we put your house on the market and it sells tomorrow and you get a good buyer? Is there somewhere you can go? Can we talk about temporary housing? Can we talk about moving in with a relative? Just so that you have those thoughts already in their mind of what they might
But
do.
I have a question.
Sure.
Even when you go to sell and say you do get a buyer, it's still gonna take you 45 days to close it anyways.
Sometimes. So there are two things that I've done. I have somebody right now who can afford to buy without selling. But what we worked out was she's getting her condo ready. Her condo isn't even ready to go on the market. I said, so get your condo ready to go on the market. Let's not even look for houses till your condo is ready. And then we're going to sign the contracts. My photographer's going to come in and do everything that he needs to do. So when it's time for you to find what you're looking for, we're ready to roll. So in other words, then we'll find the house you're going to buy, and we're going to make it at least a 60-day closing, and if we can, make it 75, just to build in the time she's going to need to sell. And then when we list your property, we're going to put in there, seller desires May 15th closing. So, you can cover all the bases.
You can.
And then you also have to agree that you're going to be aggressive. You're going to price it aggressively.
Now, what if the buyer has not been approved by financing?
Which is exactly what this says. This is why when Sarah was here Friday, we talked about the importance of meeting with the loan officer early on so that they know what they can do and what they're comfortable with. So the quote here is, okay, let's sign the paperwork tonight on your home, subject to finding suitable housing, and then I will make an appointment with you to meet with the lender to see if you would qualify for 2 mortgages at the same time. Interesting that sometimes they don't understand that. They're like, oh yeah, well, I'll have the proceeds from my house. Well, you just have to walk them through all the steps.
It's a beautiful thing when they can do that, but not everybody can do that.
That's right, and I have that a lot with my clients, is that they're actually in a fog when you say, what is your credit? Are you pre-approved?
Right.
No, they don't have their own answers, so they haven't really cultivated what they're after.
Keep reading.
I'm sorry?
Keep
Okay.
reading.
Okay, so we're up to the next slide. Okay, let's talk for a minute about your home being listed. We have talked about the challenges of today's market. How would you feel if an offer came in on your home right now, and that offer was subject to the buyer selling his home that is not yet sold? So this is when you're talking about the domino effect, right? So you're going to put an offer on something. Your money's now going to be at risk. As your seller's representative, I really can't recommend that you accept an offer that's contingent upon them selling.
Yeah, right.
Because if they don't sell, then you're at risk of losing your deposit.
No control.
So, why would you expect another seller to accept such a thing? So once you explain it that way, they get that how difficult it would be to buy a house contingent. Does that make sense? I also wanted to go back to something earlier, because when they said lots about buying the listing, which means going in sometimes saying, oh, I could sell it for $50,000 more, like buying the listing, or sometimes I'd say, okay, well, if you really are stuck on that number, then if I really think there's a possibility even, I might list it, or I would have them actually sign those status change forms for price changes at the listing agreement time. In other words, it would be our marketing plan that, okay, we're going to go on at 400, and then we agree that after the first open house, if we have no offers, after 3 days, that we are going to reduce the price to X, to 380 or 375, and I will do another open house with the price reduction. And then 2 weeks after that, we're going to come down to 350, and now we mean business. So just as a plan. Any questions on that?
Also, there's still a few banks out there that do bridge loans.
Yeah, now they're not only calling them that anymore, they're just saying, you can hold 2 mortgages, but that's what it is. You're right.
There's not many, but there's a few of them.
Yeah.
And again, you're not the loan officer. Put them in touch, have the meeting so that they know what they're comfortable doing with whatever scenario is. The problem with finding a house you want to buy, first, is that you could end up losing a lot of money. Either you're going to have to end up paying top dollar for your new home, or you're going to have to sell this one for less. Let's say we go out and look at some houses and you find a house you like. You go to the sellers and you want to negotiate with them. You haven't sold your house yet, so are the sellers for the new one going to be at some risk since you haven't sold yours? That's the first thing they're going to ask. If you write an offer that's contingent on the sale of a house, they're going to say, is that house on the market? How aggressively is it priced? What are you doing for marketing? They have a right to ask all of those questions.
Many times they won't even look at your offer if it's contingent.
That's true. So what are the sellers going to do? They may sell it to you under some tough conditions. Do you think they'll be flexible on their price, or do you think they'll stay firm since they're taking a risk? I mean, you have to, that's part of you educating your buyer, is that, or your seller rather, is that they're taking a risk if they accept the contingency of a house that has to be sold.
Unless it's been sitting on the market for a while, and they don't have as much of a risk because it's been sitting anyway, which usually there's a reason.
Let's say you even do negotiate with the seller and work out a good deal. You're now under contract to buy that house. Now, what do you have to do with your house? You have to sell it quickly. A quick sale means a discounted sale in this market. The worst part about all of this is that you're not in the driver's seat, and that is so true. You're not in a good position because you need the money quickly to pay for the other house. But here's the worst part. Whether it's contingent or not, if you don't sell your house in time and you have to drop the whole thing, you'll lose all around. Let's look at the flip side. Right now, we're in the driver's seat, meaning you don't have any specific commitment to buy a particular house, right? That's beautiful because here's what we do. We put your house on the market for the price that we want. We wait until we find a buyer. When one comes along, we sell it. No pressure. We're in the driver's seat. We find a buyer, and this person is willing to give us our price. Now we go and find the sellers of another house and say, look, I want to buy your home and I've got $400,000 cash. Do you think that the sellers would be willing to listen to you? And they might even do better on the price. Or maybe you can negotiate and say when you'd like a close based on your buyer. My point is that by selling your home first, you're in the driver's seat. If you go out and buy a home first, you're locked in because you've made a commitment. You're no longer in the driver's seat.
Okay.
You're not there. Where are you?
I was going ahead. Sorry. You don't seem to sell a lot of homes in our price range.
So here's the opposite. Go ahead.
Love that one. Am I
Go ahead.
reading the
Yeah,
next
sure.
one? That's true. In fact, I sell a lot of homes in a lower price range. And what I find is that after I sell my clients' homes, many of them move up to your price range. Therefore, it only makes sense that the next logical step for me is to start to sell your price range as well, considering I already have a relationship with many of my buyers that will be interested in your home.
Now, do you see what happened there? The person had an objection. She acknowledged the objection and then answered it in a positive way.
And I'm doing that right now.
Thank you very
Right?
much. Yeah, you
So
are.
I have people right now, they don't have to sell to buy, and that's clearly written in their pre-approval letter. And actually that call, which I'm dying to go listen to, because that might be on the offer I just made for them.
You can excuse yourself and go.
And their house that I'll be selling will be like $475, and the offer is for over $1 million. So if I got an appointment
So why are
to
you sitting here?
look at a house.
Yeah, so I'll read,
Well,
I'll read the next
You know,
one. Go.
they said they weren't deciding till 3, so I don't know if
Oh.
that's really them. So I'm not worried, and we made a very strong offer, a lot over asking. So, but the
So-
point is, if you
But why
go in
did
on
they
that
do that?
appointment,
Why
why?
did they make a strong offer over asking price?
Because I'm their agent, and I told them it was necessary. Because I did a market analysis on the property they were looking to buy, and it definitely was underpriced. It was aggressively priced, and they did that purposely to get over. It's listed at $978. My comps came in between $1015 and $1035, and we're in the middle there.
Wow. So she
So-
did her homework to represent the buyer well.
Yeah, and I showed them that. And even based on the time alone, they bought it for $950 in 2011, which was like the bottom. Just time alone, they're only on for $978.
It's just amazing that you told them the price, what it should be, and they went higher, but they could have bought it for the price to save money.
And there's multiple offers on the property.
Oh, okay, that's different.
Oh,
Yeah.
I think she anticipated that there
No,
would be.
I already
just
knew there'd
because
be
of
more
the house,
offers.
Yeah.
We actually had written an offer at one price, and then I had written an offer at another price, and I already had the permission to go where I wanted to,
Okay.
up until a certain price.
So here's the next objection. I need to net this amount, whatever the amount is, in order to move. I have to be at my new job in 90 days, but I can't afford to buy a new home if I take a loss. So he's already setting the constraints. So you're going to say, I hear you. There are a lot of people in your position in this market. Has there ever been a time when you knew you were going to have to make a sacrifice, where you knew it was going to be tough, and in the end, After analyzing all of your options, you realized there was only one thing to do. Just go for it was the only thing to do. But you found that in the end, it all worked out. You made it through the tough times and life went on, maybe even better than before. I think sometimes they just say that without understanding the full process and all that's involved. So again, you're there to listen, acknowledge, and then help diffuse whatever their concern is. This time is just like that time. The market analysis shows that it is unlikely anyone is going to give you what you need to make this move. It is more important to get out from under this house, take the new job, work through the tough times, or are you in a position to keep making mortgage payments on this house for a couple of years until after the values go back up? So see what they said at the beginning of this. The person reading this to the seller was saying, I'm trying to help you get to your goal. What is the goal? The goal that you kind of don't have control over is that you have a new job to start. That's the big one. And the rest of it is going to fall into place. It's important to get out from under this house, take the new job, and work through the tough times, or are you in a position to keep making more mortgage payments on this house for a couple of years until the property values go back up? Or let's pretend I give you a 100 $1 bills and I say, go to the mall and sell each one for 95 cents. This is hypothetical, obviously. For 95 cents, do you think you'd sell them? How quickly would they sell if we marked them at 85 cents? How about if we marked them at $1.20? How fast would they sell? What I'm saying is, by taking the house that's worth $200,000 and trying to get more for it than it's worth, it may take extremely longer. See what happened to that other house that was on the street where Ann had the listing, and that house had been sitting there for a while. Then she priced it right and hers sold.
Only 2 weeks, but
Yeah. All right,
it's a fast market. So
Yeah.
I mean, right now I think it's still a seller's market in many areas, and you gotta act accordingly.
Okay, you're on.
I'm on.
Yep.
Oh, for sale by owner, FSBOs. If we have to go that low, we will probably just list it ourselves and offer to pay 3% to any agent that want to sell it. Okay, I can see your point of view, but there is a lot of legal paperwork disclosures that a listing agent would handle once the property's under agreement. Who will handle all that paperwork for you? As well, do you think that many buyers' agents will feel comfortable selling the property knowing that there is not an agent on the listing side to handle the paperwork disclosures, etc.? In other words, buyer's agents may be subjected to a greater risk by selling a house that is not listed by a real estate agent. Can you see how that would affect the saleability of your home?
Lots of times they don't understand that.
It's our job to help them to understand what's involved. I always like to use I got a guy for that phrase, because anything that's going to come up, I have a guy for that. Somebody comes up during an inspection and says, well, there's something wrong here. Well, I have a guy for that. You know, we're not happy with these windows. I have a guy for that. Something's wrong with the HVAC. I have a guy for that. Do you have a guy for everything? You know, so sometimes that helps.
Reduced. We can always come down in price later. So you're going to say to the seller, you're right, but I'm afraid by that point you'd have to deeply discount your price. You see, if we come out of the gate with your home overpriced, many of the buyer agents will instantly write you off as non-motivated sellers. That's interesting. Let me explain what that means from an agent's perspective. The higher a price is on a property, the less the seller needs to sell it. At least that's what the agents believe from their past experience. To agents, a non-motivated seller means that even if you come down in price later, two things will happen. Most agents won't even realize your home has been reduced. I always say if you're going to do a price adjustment, make it significant enough that it's noticed. Now you might say, can't we send them a flyer telling them it's been reduced? Yes, we could send everyone a flyer telling them that the prices have been reduced, but agents get 500 flyers a week and there's a good chance that it will go unnoticed. If they see that you had the home priced really high in the beginning, that will tell them that you were kind of unrealistic when we listed the property, meaning that you didn't believe that what I was saying was true. All agents interpret this as trouble when it comes to getting the deal closed. Do you understand why? If we price it to sell right from the beginning, our odds of getting agents to show it is much higher. Again, Anne's example on that road was perfect.
Also, sometimes, I don't know if any of you ever used on MLS, they have that way of reverse searching for anybody out there that has search engines on the MLS, and you could put it in there at one price, $350, and you can get a number of how many buyers are out there at $350, and then if you put it out there at $425 or $400, the number will change, and usually it goes down because as you go up in price, it's usually lesser buyers. So then it's a way to show them you want to, it's all about the eyes. How many eyes are going to get into your house? So you have to price it accordingly to get as many eyes as possible into your house, because eyes equals offers.
Okay. Ready?
Yeah.
Go.
We aren't quite ready yet. We need to finish a couple of projects around the house before we put it on the market. Awesome. Why don't we complete the paperwork now, and while you are doing your projects, I'll get the flyer done and paperwork processed, so when you are ready, I will be too. We'll write into the contract no showings for 2 weeks.
You just had one that you did
my
in the
God.
fall for a spring.
I do them. I have some long-term ones. I have one finally coming on the market, hopefully. February 26th is the plan, March 1st for the open house, showing start February 29th. That's our plan right now. But I had the pictures done in September. We wanted nice, pretty green grass pictures, and we planned to do snowy pictures in the winter, but we really haven't had that opportunity.
Yeah.
And this house has been ready to go for quite some time. It's actually even Pearl certified, and it actually got upgraded to platinum.
Nice.
So they're very excited at Pearl too. So there's other things you can do regarding finishing some projects. It depends what they are. Sometimes, can I bring up the virtual staging?
Sure.
So sometimes they might say, well, I got so much cleaning to do. A Jewish word. I have all these tchotchkes on the top of my, kitchen cabinets. I got to take them all down. I also have all these tchotchkes on those bookshelves. I just have to, pack those all up. Well, you really don't have to. And I can tell them that, you could live here. When you have to really move and pack up, you're going to pack them up. But you can leave them there, and I could have them virtually removed. So you get a high quality picture, and then you have those items removed, and then you make a 11 by 14 of the picture, and you put it on a stand on the kitchen counter, and they could see what it'll look like without all of that stuff there, without all those counter, stuff on the counter. I'll pass around some samples. I've done renditions too, but
We can show it to the camera first.
virtual staging samples. And these are actually places I've done. So these were empty rooms that I had virtually staged with furniture. Also virtually staged with furniture. This one had a wooden ceiling, and it really made the room look small. So I had it rendered with a whitewash ceiling, just so that people could see what it would look like if it was a whitewash ceiling. I've had exteriors enhanced. These people also, I listed it in the spring, and we took the pictures in the fall. And they did supersede their lawn twice, so we hoped it would come up nice and green, but it really looked like that. But we were hoping it would look like that when they bought it and the grass started coming in. So we showed them that possibility. But this same company that does this, which I use boxbrownie.com, out of Australia actually, and they do a great job, and they'll remove things. There's 2 cars parked in front. If it's a Boston listing, they'll remove them. So it's a great way to overcome that objection and tell them like we could get ready without officially being ready.
What was the name of that company you just mentioned?
Boxbrownie.com. There's a lot of them out there, but Box Brownie has done a
So
good
one
job.
thing about that, so Tom Vegelitis,
And
who
he's
is-
done 3
yeah.
of these too.
Tom is LAER3D.com. The one thing you should know if you're doing virtual staging, virtual landscaping, is that you need to disclose
Yes.
in MLS that you've done that, so that they don't get to the house and they're like,
These 3 were Tom's. He did a great job. Even changed the mauve stained carpet to wood.
hi.
You said, good, you said virtual staging, what, something else? Yeah, they disclosed MLS.
You need to say in MLS if you've done virtual staging or virtual landscaping.
Okay, landscape.
Like, let's say somebody had to put in a new septic system in order for the house to sell. So they chopped up the whole front lawn, so there's no grass. So Tom might go in, or somebody might go in and put the green grass in. So just, you have to be honest so that when they pull up to the house and they see the dirt, they're like, this didn't look like the picture. Yeah.
There's a label right in MLS that you could pull down in a pull down menu, and it's virtually enhanced, or you just have to post that there.
You don't find that people then come in with a certain expectation and are terribly disappointed and just move on? You find that this is obviously you find it's a beneficial thing.
Absolutely.
All right.
I've had
My husband
empty
has
rooms.
so many objections to doing anything virtual like that because he thinks it'll just automatically
I think that
show
if-
you as not entirely honest to your
No, but
potential
you're,
buyers.
again, tell them that you're disclosing it. I think that if you watch Property Brothers or Love It Enlisted, for instance,
Yep.
you've got clients who have vision and clients who don't. So I think the virtual staging especially can help. And then the other thing is the debate about whether to, if, let's say the family's selling their house and he got transferred to Arizona, so they're already gone. The house is empty. Is it better to show an empty house or to have some stuff in it? Yes, you could have a stager actually bring some furniture in, or you could do the virtual staging. But sometimes when a house is vacant, it makes it a little more difficult because some people have a hard time realizing how they're going to use their own.
So this was a listing I had in Holliston, and it's sold, but I'm showing you this because you could see, like, this is the family room, and there's nothing in it, and I can make it bigger. That's the family room, and there's nothing in it. And then that's the family room virtually staged. And it says virtually staged. So I did this with
You're
quite
just
a few
helping
rooms.
their
It's
imagination.
saying it,
Yeah.
so, I mean, I totally disclosed it.
And she did the right thing by putting the word
So
in.
that's
Right.
virtually
You
staged.
can put the captions
And
in.
it says it right underneath it, virtual staging.
When
It says
do
it
you-
right there.
Yep.
When do you think about virtual staging? What dollar value? You don't do it for $100,000 home.
Sometimes I mean, no, I don't have any $100,000 homes. But, I mean, I'm sorry. But, I mean, I mean, this house was on for it sold for $475. And I actually did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rooms I virtually staged. So, I mean, it was only, a couple $100. And that's my investment, but that's something I sell to my sellers. I believe in this property. I'm taking money out of my pocket to make sure it gets sold. I also blow up the pictures to 8 by 10. I actually saw in one house recently, virtual stage, it was like poster size, and I thought that was great. And he just did it at Staples. And I'm like, I'm going to do that next
See?
time. It was like, because then it was really big, and it was like in the window, and it was this big, and you walk into the empty room, and there's the picture of it virtually staged. So you're seeing the empty, and you're seeing what it could be.
But isn't there a image value that you're trying to, it's on the eyes of the beholder? That maybe you may have something that's worth something somebody can afford, but I can't afford it. It looks good, but am I leading the wrong direction?
Well, no, because this is just usually mostly putting furniture in. So I don't know what kind of furniture they have.
Too rosy a picture?
Yeah.
Maybe, but I'm showing it. I mean, I showed the ugly mauve stained carpet, and I showed it staged with possibly making it hardwood.
I like it.
You know,
I think
I mean,
A lot of people
No,
undervalue
that's
the
good.
fact that they can't visualize.
Yeah, that's what's hard. All right, one more thing about commission, and this is gonna lead into our value as agents. Will you cut your commission? There are other agents that will do it for less. You know, you're right. There are a lot of desperate agents out there, and I'm a little concerned for you should you choose one of them. If an agent is so desperate that they are willing to broadcast the fact that they don't think they have any value as a realtor, is that the type of person you want sitting across from the negotiating table, trying to negotiate you a better price? Is that the type of person you want to represent you in the most valuable transaction of your life? And you can look at it from either side. Or, commissions aren't negotiable with agents that sell homes. They are only negotiable with realtors who don't believe in the services they offer. You need a strong agent that sells homes, right? Right? Oh, right. Or, here's a list of what I do for you as a professional. What would you like me to take out?
I like that one.
Now, back to Stacy's book, The 7 Secrets. She talks about the value of a full-service agent. And again, you need to understand what you represent about yourself, about your company, and about all that you do. And this is in one of the chapters in her book. And sometimes you have to express to the seller all that's involved in a transaction. It isn't just the paperwork the day of the listing and, oh, I'll see you at the closing. It's everything that happens in between. This is all in her book. So sometimes you need to go over that with them. Total minutes worked on an average listing, 4,200 minutes. How much does your attorney, doctor, or mechanic or plumber charge per hour? My marketing fee stays the same no matter how much time, effort, or marketing dollars I put into reaching our goal of sold. That's also a nice different way of putting it. I'm not charging you per hour, I'm only charging you one fee. Can you see how this fixed rate compensation program works for your benefit? Of course, I had one a long, long time ago. It was on 4th of July weekend. Somebody walked into the office, I showed them one house, we wrote the offer, and it was done. So Mike Ferry used to say years ago, remember those days when you had a very easy transaction, and then when you do the 4,200 minutes, it kind of balances out.
Okay.
Has anyone gone through the actual 42 minutes? Does a typical agent do that?
You mean, is it what they really do?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I think so.
A lot of it, absolutely.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. We want to have an exclusion in the listing contract in case our friend or neighbor wants to buy it. I agree that's important to be thorough when we are filling out this contract. And let me ask you this. Why haven't you already sold the home to your company, friend, or neighbor? No one has made an offer. Your personal marketing hasn't worked, and that's why you're hiring me. Is that right? If my marketing works well enough to convince your friend or neighbor to buy it, isn't that what you are paying me for in the first place? Aren't you hiring me to let the public know your home is for sale and convince people that they should buy it? Why would I cut my commission if my marketing works?
That's a great point.
And the biggest point is the first part. I mean, if they wanted to buy it, why haven't they?
If they insist that somebody is interested, the only thing I would say, and you can add to this, is the only thing I would say is you need to put a time limit.
Yes.
Say, tell them to either step up to the plate or we're going forward with this. Give them 10 days to do something, you know.
And then maybe act as a facilitator, like not go live. I've said to people, okay, let's do a 48-hour first right of refusal. 48 hours, how much time do they need? If they want to buy your house, how many times have they been in it? They
Right.
practically lived here.
Right.
You know, I mean, if they really want to buy your house, what are they waiting for? So why don't you let me call them and get them in here and talk to them and see if they really want to write an offer. And as long as no other agent is involved, meaning they're not going to have an agent step in and represent them, then, maybe I'll facilitate it for you for 3.5% instead of the 5 or the 6 I was going to charge you. And you know, let's get that done. But after 48 hours, once I hit live on MLS, they're done.
It's usually casual conversation, which means that this neighbor or relative hasn't even gone to a bank to see if they're worthy of it. Yeah, so it usually ends up not being anything, but you have to get past that objection to be able to go forward with them being obligated to you. The last agent never showed our home himself, and neither did anyone else from this office. That could also be an objection for an expired listing. So
Right.
let's see what that says. Did they promise that they would be showing your home nonstop? Well then, I can appreciate what you're telling me. See how you're acknowledging it? I, for one, will not promise that I will be showing your home. I am going to market your property to the top 25 agents in the area that sell 80% of the real estate. Did you want me marketing your property to the real estate agents that don't sell real estate? I wouldn't say that. Or should I just spend time marketing to the ones that do? It's, you know, you don't want a closed-minded kind of showing aspect. You want it open to anybody being able to show the house. That actually makes me think of the accompanied showings, which is another subject, but some agents will think that that's a value to their customer. But how many of us have experienced when you call the listing agent who has to accompany, and she'll say, oh, I'm not available Friday, I'm not available Saturday. And I'm like, is that a service to your seller if you have to accompany the showing and you're not available? Has anybody had that experience?
Yep.
Ernie, you have?
Yep. I hate that.
It's tough. It's a tough one. We want to try selling it ourselves. I totally understand. Remember, acknowledge. I totally understand the thought of trying to get a home sold yourself. Part of what I do as a professional is spending time contacting other agents and potential buyers. I ask them if they would like to buy your home, or if they know someone who would like to buy your home, or if they would like to sell their home. This is what I consider active marketing. How skilled are you at phone solicitation? Have you ever done it before? Open houses, social media ads, flyers, but those typically don't get a house sold. To that point, I think the other thing I would mention if they said that is about security. I had a neighbor down the street from me one time who tried to sell the house herself, did an open house alone at the house, and nothing bad happened, but she was alone in the house and a man came in and she was very uneasy. So that's we always talk about the safety factors for realtors, to let people know when you're going on a showing and things like that. But it can be an even harder thing if you're doing a for sale by owner. With a for sale by owner, anybody could come up to your house. I always say that to sellers as well. If you list with me and the sign is in your front yard, if someone comes up to your door and says, can I look at this house? You say, I'm sorry, you have to book the showing through my agent. They may just think they can walk up to the door and walk through the house. No, that's not how it works. I've seen examples in houses of, I remember one condo once where a guy had left all his credit cards out on the counter. And we were walking through showing the house. People don't think, you want to have faith that people are going to do the right thing, but why put that out there for them? It is always a safety factor.
And it is our job to remind our sellers of those safety factors. I always remind them to hide all jewelry, nothing out, and all prescription medications. Big one.
I did my first open house this weekend, as you know.
Mhm.
I was advised that you don't necessarily follow the people through the house, but just stay within earshot. So are you telling me that that was bad information and I should have followed them through?
So here's,
Well, no, you could have
No,
multiple people.
because you can't follow everybody.
it's tough.
Okay.
Now, I had 3 generations of a family walk through an open house one day. Actually, they were my clients. and we went to an open house. The broker is there in the kitchen, and I never knew this was going to happen. But the grandparents went in one room, the children went in another, and I'm like, what just happened? That's not fair. That's not fair to the listing agent who's doing the open house. And it's not fair to you because you are kind of responsible for these people as they're going through the house. And they just thought that it was a free-for-all. I try to tell families to, I try to tell them very nicely to keep a hand on their children, hold their hand or something like that. I've done a lot of new construction, and new construction, you really need to be careful because there could be open stairwells to the basement and things like that.
I try just not to do them alone. I usually
Yeah.
try to have a mortgage agent join me, or another real estate agent join me. If you can, try not to do them alone, especially if the house is vacant.
But I guess the question is, you're not following them?
No.
No, okay, that's all. Not so much my
No.
safety, but more what is my obligation to the seller?
No,
Well, your
you don't have to
obligation is
follow.
Protect the assets of the home.
That's right.
Well, to the best of your ability.
Right.
It's really the first thing you should do really is advise your sellers on how to protect their assets. And
Now,
they
is that
should
my job when I'm covering an open house?
No.
No.
it would
Okay.
be the listing agent's job.
Okay.
I want to touch on basements with that,
But-
since you went down that path.
You know, we talked about Hummels. That's an old-fashioned word, but people who had collections of things. I always say at a listing appointment, I would tuck away whatever you don't need between now and the closing, and that definitely includes all these little things, collections. And I may have told the story last week, but I was showing a house. I had the appointment show it, went through it with a couple with 2 young kids, and the kid bumped into a porcelain figurine that was on a coffee table and broke it. So my client wrote a letter to the owner of the home and left it on the counter and offered to pay for it. And she was very gracious in return. I think just the fact that we owed up to it, she said, thank you, but you know, you're fine. But that's the type of thing, I wouldn't have even left that there knowing that there was an open house, but
Well, they probably figured I have insurance to cover it.
that could be too, that could be. Oh, here's a good one, and I have a story for this one after I read it. We'd like to meet 2 more agents before we decide on who we will
Magic
choose.
numbers. It's a magic numbers. You know, got to meet 3 people.
That
These 3.
sounds reasonable. How will you be comparing agents? What differences will you be looking for? Will you be comparing them on the based on events they can control, years of experience, marketing plan, etc., or events they can't control, like marketing time and market value? This is also in Stacy's book. I don't think you were involved in the story, but I think it was somebody in the Winchester office. She knew that she was one of 2 or 3 agents that were going on listing appointments. So she goes and she takes this beautiful arrangement. Thank you for letting me see your house. It was a pleasure to meet with you. I hope I get chosen, whatever. Leaves the arrangement on the island. 30 minutes later, the second agent comes in, and the second agent goes, "Oh, what beautiful flowers. Where'd you get those?" And she says, "Oh, the agent that was just here left them." And he's like, "Why didn't I think of that?" So the first one she got the listing.
That's funny.
But just going to that extra step when you're, you know, and listening. What can differentiate you from someone else? What is their trigger point? What's their goal if it's a transfer?
Well, listening one thing, but you got to read the
Absolutely,
person's composure and all
absolutely, yep. I don't want to do those repairs before I sell. Let the buyers do it themselves. Another chapter of Stacy's
Yes.
book. Go ahead.
that stuff.
When you were shopping for your home, were you looking to buy a home that needed repairs, or did you want something move-in ready? What do you think most people want?
Moving ready.
Most people, I'd say, want move-in ready. Or they'll do some minor cosmetics, you know, like painting. Many buyers, if given a choice, will lean toward a move-in ready home. Also, did you know that buyers will overestimate the cost of a repair by 2 to 3 times, then reflect that amount in their offer to you? So I just sold a house to clients on Grover Road in Ashland, and I will be putting their home on the market on Sherburne Circle. And they also were lucky enough to be able to afford to buy and then sell. So they're already moved out. The house is vacant. They didn't do anything in their 10 years of ownership, like nothing, and it really needs quite a bit. They actually had a fire in the oven. It didn't go into the house, but it made a lot of smoke, and the ceilings need to be painted. The walls need to be painted. The cabinets, the paint bubbled next to the stove, and they never did anything with it. It was like 7 years ago, and it's really just the paint. It just has to be peeled off and painted. Then I was walking around the outside. They're missing a couple of fence panels, and the gate doesn't work. And I'm like, and then I saw a big piece of like 4x4 wood that was fallen down under the four-season room, and I went over to it and I took it out, and I could see it was definitely water rot and ant damage. And I don't know the extent of how far along the sill of this four-season room it goes. I'm like, and they're like, well, we don't want to fix everything, And I said, well, you haven't done anything in the 10 years you owned it. So now you have two choices. You could sell it at a major discount, and it would be major because it would be a flipper that would buy it the way it looks right now. Both bathrooms were missing tiles. It's just like they really let it go. The tiles were there. They just never put them back, So I have somebody going over there on Sunday, one of my guys who does everything. See, I have a guy for that. He paints, he fixes, he's a builder, he's a contractor, he can do it all. He can put the fences in, the painting, the sill, everything. So I already told him it's going to be a pretty penny. Like, don't be surprised to hear between 10 and 20,000.
This is another chapter in Stacy's book, 7 Secrets, that she talks about the pre-home inspection. I think we talked about this a little bit last week. So if your seller would do a pre-home inspection, they would get an understanding of then what the buyer is going to see. Let's take a very simple example. Let's say that the circuit breaker box has 3 double taps or some rotted wires from water coming in or something. It might be something that you can bring an electrician in for, even if it's $300, let's say, and eliminate that. Okay, you've eliminated that concern. Now the buyer comes in, does his home inspection. The home inspector doesn't say anything about the circuit breaker box. But if you hadn't done that pre-inspection and they see that about the electric panel, they'll say, we want $5,000 off the price of the house because we have to. See? So you've eliminated what the concern might be by doing the pre-home inspection. In Stacy's book, in that chapter, she also alludes to the point that it could cause the buyers to have more confidence in you, the seller, because you've taken the aggressive step to do the pre-home inspection.
And you should share that pre-home inspection. I mean, I've been on the other side as a buyer's agent, and I had one, and we did our inspection, and we brought up some of our things that we found, and I couldn't believe it when the list agent said, oh yeah, we knew about that, we knew about that, we knew about that, and we're not doing anything. I'm like, what do you mean you knew about all these things? He's like, well, we did a pre-inspection. I'm like, well, why didn't you share that? Because then we would have reflected that in our offer.
Right.
If you weren't going to do anything. So I found that to be unethical, because really he knew about things that were wrong with the house and didn't disclose them. So I say if you do a pre-inspection, you share it. You actually check off the items that you took care of, and by providing it, you're also saying, take everything into account that we didn't do, and don't come discuss those with me when you inspect it with your inspector, because I already told you about that.
And exactly what Stacy's saying is we've acknowledged or repaired these things, so we've already reflected the price that we're asking for the house based on doing this.
Right.
Yeah.
But who paid for the repairs?
The seller.
Oh, the seller who
Yeah.
paid?
Well, the seller did it in advance, some
Yeah.
of them.
Okay.
But again, it eliminated concerns that would have then been out of your control by the buyer. Another short story about that. I had an elderly lady in Chelmsford years ago. Her husband had died. She's living alone in the house, and it was a Cape. So the home inspector came, went down the cellar stairs with his poker thing, and went to the big beam that would be underneath the front steps of the house, and of course the poker went straight through the entire thing. So that was the main carrying beam, termite damage. She wouldn't have known, you know. So the point is that a pre-home inspection might have shown something.
I just
like
can't
that.
believe that there are unethical realtors out there.
Oh,
that
gosh.
Don't do their job.
There's a
They
lot
have
of.
The seller beware, but so the buyer has to come up and now the buyer is the devil.
And
When the
had-
seller should.
It is a
listen,
buyer beware state.
Yeah.
I mean, we really, I mean, I do sometimes, I personally, when I list properties, I have not done a property condition statement in probably 15 years. Because the attorneys, they really recommend that we don't do them, or that the sellers don't do them, because if the seller forgets something, they could be liable. You've owned the house 20 years. I mean, I don't remember half the stuff I've done to my own house. So, it's a fine line. And it is a buyer beware. So, the buyer can do their inspection, and we can discuss anything they find.
But then the buyer of clients, basically, the buyer will do the inspection.
Yes, and they
Look at
should.
the inspection, and you're right. I get all these items now, and it's worth the value of X, when I drop the price $30,000.
Right.
And the client is saying, and the seller is saying, no way. Then I said, we walk away.
Well, then, or you negotiate. You know, how much
Right.
you're willing to, it's all a negotiation. You know, I always got, when I'm a buyer's agent, I guide my buyers that we don't want to give a laundry list of items. We want to really find, if anything, the major mechanical, structural
Safety
items that
issues.
are going to be in excess of so much money. I'm not going to say there's a hole in the screen in the bedroom and ask for that. I'm not going to even say there's one GFI that's not working
Right.
and ask for that.
Right.
But if there's a lot of electrical things, I might include it. But
Yeah.
for a $10 item,
The other point about the pre-home inspection is, and again, Stacey says this in her book, that it can gain the confidence if you post that home inspection as a document in MLS. The buyer could say, "Wow, these people were really aggressive. They did the work. I'm not going to bother having a home inspection." So that can happen.
it happens.
Yep. All right. I want open houses every single weekend until it sells. Why do you want one every weekend? How would you feel if we did one every day? You see, at some point there is a diminishing return on exposure that an open house can bring. So that's, I know, you need to know what your marketing plan is going to be, and you need to express that to them. That's them asking one thing. You need to say, you have to realize that we're doing a lot of different types of advertising. Open house is not the only.
And you need to show that pie chart that shows 1% of houses sell at open houses. So I'm going to do an open house, of course, weekend one out of the gate, and I will do others as needed. However, you know, I'm hitting the 1%. I'm not going to do one every weekend because most people are buying via internet. 75, 78, some odd percent. Most of them have agents, and they're making appointments.
Is that pie chart in here?
No, it's in the one of our presentations, isn't it? Or it's in Toolkit,
Which one?
Tools?
or it's in. Do we have it on our?
I don't know, but that's a good one. Can you share that with us?
Yes, I
we'll
can.
Get it we'll get
I
it
will-
posted. We'll
I will
get it
get
to
it.
everybody.
I think I have it here. I'm gonna find it. It's a good one.
All right, the next one. I'd like to write an offer that is 50% below, $50,000 below asking. Let's see how
There you
much
go.
we can squeeze out of them. Making a low offer seems tempting, but let me ask this. If you make an offer and lose the home to someone who makes a higher offer, what will you do with the money you saved? I just want you to consider this. What's more important to you, owning this home or saving money? From my experience, I can tell you that I oftentimes see sellers take less than asking, but that's when they are coming down to the market value. When a home is priced at market value, those homes typically sell at market value and sometimes even more. Another item to think about is your relationship with the owner. If you came in $5 below asking, the seller would be foolish to counter. If you come in way too low, you're suggesting you want them to counter. Also, by going too low, you may offend the owner and lose the opportunity to negotiate. That's really what happens a lot of times is the seller gets so annoyed and says, I'm not even coming back with a counter offer. If you're serious, come back with an offer that's closer to the price.
Best
Right.
and final.
Yeah. I think we will wait to buy. We want to jump in when the prices are rock bottom. I don't know when that's
Okay.
going to happen. Believe me, we all want to jump in when the market bottoms. The question is, how will we know when we've hit the bottom? The answer is when the market goes back up. We will never know when the market is at the bottom, just when it was at the bottom. So the question is this: is there a benefit to buying a home before the market bottoms rather than after? Yes. So see, there's another example of listening to the concern, affirming it, and then answering it. Four things: lower rates, more inventory to choose from. You can take your time in a seller's market. There are typically bidding wars and you have less time to make decisions. And number four, buying now means you can enjoy your new home sooner.
I'm sorry,
You're
You're still looking?
I'm looking.
I see this often where we have an offer on the table, which you can submit a backup. Do people really follow up on the backup offer?
Well, nowadays, a lot of the listing agents are not even giving you the opportunity for best and final. So if you don't go in with offer number one with all your eggs in the basket, they'll just call you back and say, seller made a decision. You're like, well, you didn't even give me a chance to counteroffer. Sorry, that was the seller's decision.
Yeah.
I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
Here we go.
For sale by owner, we had a bad experience with our agent, so we are going to sell on our own. So we're going to talk about this when Matt McLaughlin comes a little bit more. But for sale by owner is a great, probably the best example of listening to what went wrong before, if it's an expired listing, affirming to him, agreeing with him, you know, what went wrong, no communication, no open houses, whatever it was, and then talking about what your style of marketing is, what you will do. Let's take a scenario like
found
this. Oh, good. I'm going to purposely blow it out of proportion a little. You were flying to Chicago and you flew a particular airline. You were a few hours late, your bags were a day late, the flight attendants went to a bad training program, arrogant 101, and you ran out of peanuts. Now you need to go to California. Would you walk or would you still fly? You probably fly. Why? Because you know the plane is better than walking. You get there quicker and you won't pass out from muscle cramping and dehydration along the way. Just because you had a bad experience, you aren't going to rule out flying altogether. You may never work with that airline again, but you still see the value of flying. What I'm saying is don't discount real estate just because you had a bad experience with one. Just don't use that one again. So that's what you need to show them. For instance, in a listing presentation, if you were to show LAER3D.com, all you have to do is open it. It sells itself. That and the LAER listing presentation, I mean, you've got the aids to differentiate yourself from other agents, and that's what makes us a better company.
This is
She
the
found it.
toolkit. It's from Toolkit. So
Thank
it's
you.
on Toolkit, and it actually says it's 7% buy a house from a yard sign or open house sign. So not necessarily at the open house. So some of that's
So what did
by
you
coming
find
to
out?
the open house. What?
Will you email that to me?
Yes.
And 49% from the internet.
Well, it's more than that actually, because it's 49% from the internet and 31% from a real estate agent.
Excellent.
And they're using the real estate agent to get to the internet
Yes.
search engine. So it's really,
The two
you know,
together.
it's the
Sure.
two together, which is 80%.
That's a good chart.
Yeah, I'll post that.
Yeah, so there's actually that one on Toolkit, and then there's one, important factors in choosing a real estate agent. And this is a good one too, because it says,
So what's that under?
it's
Topic.
it's under Toolkit CMA, and it's actually where you do the comparative market analysis on Toolkit CMA, which is something you actually pay $8 if you use it in any month.
We'll talk about that tomorrow.
Okay, that's something else. I find it worth it for some of the pages that I use.
I'd love to post that. All right, share that
Yeah.
with me. All right, last one, and then we have a surprise for the entire class.
Me too.
The surprise is Aunt Silverman. We want to hire you,
Pressure.
but we must list at a higher price. So, Mr. Seller, let's pretend you were going fishing and the fish were down here. Where would you want to place the bait? Down here, right? Let's say that we place the bait up here. Are we going to get any nibbles? Doubtful, right? Yeah. We may get one fish to stray from the pack, but the odds of catching the fish are not in our favor. Here's the reason I'm using this analogy. I'm recommending that we put the house on the market for $150 because based on the comparables, that's where the fish are. If we price it, though, at what you're suggesting at $160, I'm not saying the house won't sell, but it's not probable, so the choice is yours. So remember what one of the other slides said about being in the market, not chasing the market. Oops. If your house is worth $150 and we were to list it at $130, what do you think would happen? Right, we'd probably have buyers knocking the doors down to get in. If we list it at $150, we're going to get an average number of buyers to get the house sold in the time frame that I showed you. But that's a fair market. So if we go above fair market, we're going to have fewer potential buyers because of competition from other homes. It just weeds out more and more buyers. If we listed it for $200,000, we'd have maybe one, if any, right? So the higher you go, the fewer buyers. The fewer buyers, the longer it takes. Well, my concern is that when the house stays on the market for too long, it gets stale. For example, let's use bread. You know that when bread stays on the shelf in the supermarket too long, what happens? It gets stale, right? When a house is on the market for a while, in a sense it becomes stale. The agents don't show it as much, they start to lose interest. It becomes back burner stuff because it's stale. When is the best time to sell? As soon as you put it on the market. You want the package of the house in its best light, the price, its appearance, everything. Exactly what Ann did with that house. If we already know, Mr. Seller, that in 30 days we're going to come down in price, that the CMA is now saying we're better off starting out that way because a house is never hotter than when it first comes on the market.
And this is a page on Toolkit as well that has like 3 charts basically saying all the same thing of how, and this is my favorite one because it's just obvious. You get all these people coming in week 1 and 2, and the longer it sits on the market, nobody sees it. And the first question out of people's mouths, if you're a buyer and put themselves in the buyer's position, is, well, why has that one been on for 168 days? What's wrong with it? And that's the question that they're asking. Do you want to be that house? Or do you want to be the sold house? And my favorite line is, am I putting a for sale sign out there, or am I putting a for keep sign?
Ooh, good one. Now, while Ann gets ready for her surprise.
You're also asking for a flipper to come in and take over.
In your manual for today, right after page 8, right after the wording is done, we go into the scripts, so you can look at these later on. But what is wonderful is the first page shows you where to find a certain script. If you're looking for a price adjustment, if you're talking to an expired listing, whatever it is. Now, this entire set of scripts is in the Career Den, in the library, under scripts and dialogues, and the name of it is Words That Work. It's a 60-page document. So all of the scripts are there for you to use, and I think those will be in your boot camp booklet as well. So now, because Ann's here and we want to use her time the best, we're going to flip gears a little bit and talk to you about one part that I want Ann to talk about is how she prepares for an open house and how she points out, the
I got it.
cards. points out the striking features of a house, which I think is fascinating, and causes curiosity, which is a great thing. And then we're going to do a little bit of a Buffini commercial.
Okay. So when I do open houses, I usually try to sell my houses on the first weekend. And most of my houses do sell on the first weekend. Not all, but most. And most of my houses do sell between 97% and 108% of asking. Okay? And how I do that, and I've done it enough that I could show sellers my comps on what I listed it for and what it sold for and how I get that done. So my open houses are usually pretty busy, which is one reason why I'm not alone, because they're busy. And also, I really can't concentrate on answering everybody's questions. So I want to make sure that as they walk around the house, all their questions are answered. So I make a crazy amount of signs that I put all around the house, and I just print them out on cardstock, and I cut them and I fold them so that they stand. And sometimes, like this one says, fantastic eat-in kitchen with ceiling height, white cabinetry, island with breakfast bar, unique crazy horse granite countertops, Whirlpool stainless appliances, including a 5-burner gas range and a slider to the deck overlooking the yard and conservation land. And they read every single one of them. It's really kind of fun. And also, if they come with children, the children's job is to see if they could count how many signs there are, and it gives them something to do. And when they come back, I usually have a little prize for them if they got it right, even if they got it wrong. But yeah. So then I have things like inviting dining room with gleaming hardwood floors, crown molding, wainscoting, and chair rail. But you will not find this sign in the dining room. Because when you're in the dining room, you can see the hardwood floors, the wainscoting, and the chair rail. But I want to remind you of that, so I might put this in the walk-in closet. Wow, that's weird, huh? But when they already saw the dining room and now they're in the walk-in closet and they're reading this sign, I can promise you those buyers are leaving remembering that that house had wainscoting, hardwood floors, and crown molding. Okay? So, and I sometimes even have signs. Let's see if I have one.
So like if you're in that family room on the lower level, she might put a sign that says, don't forget to check out the beautiful custom tile in the master bath.
Right. Or I might have a sign on the hot water heater that says, did you miss the walk-in closet in the master suite? If you did, go back and check it out.
That's great.
So this way, they're going to remember that. And then I have sometimes information. There are local farms offering fresh eggs, community farm shares, flowers, and more. So now they have something that's around the neighborhood that they might want to know. Unfinished walkout lower level is perfect for future expansion. That would be upstairs somewhere. It wouldn't be in the basement because I want to make, if the basement's finished, somewhere upstairs on the top floor there will be a sign, don't miss the finished lower level. And sometimes, if the house is really fantastic, I had one that I put on the pool table. Do you love this house? Then what are you waiting for? Write an offer.
So I'll tell you another reason why these are good. I was at an open house over the weekend. In the first 9 minutes of the open house, there were 20 families through it. Now, I will tell you that sometimes you will do a tour of a house differently just because there are too many people jammed in one room. Or you might never get to the bedrooms because there's too many people going up and down the stairs. So if these are there to point out some great highlights and features of the house, it's helping you to remember
Right.
things that you might have missed.
Like the neutral carpet is 3 years young. I want them to know how old it is because otherwise they're searching for how old is the carpet, or they want to ask. They'll find it somewhere. There's 2 zones of gas heat via propane and air and central air conditioning. I want them to know that, and you know, so they know right away what they've got. And sometimes I've had big signs in the kitchen saying these sellers were able to renovate the bathrooms, but they left the kitchen up to you.
Oh, good.
So use your imagination and think about how you would redesign this kitchen. You know, and
love it.
they read all the signs. So that's something that I bring, and you could do this at an open house you're doing for somebody else.
Okay.
I mean, you could take them with you if you want, you could leave them.
Well, the question, she hasn't been to the open house yet.
No, I did.
She did one yesterday. Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I mean, the first time you go.
Well, she's doing it for somebody else. She could look at the feature sheet and make signs
Oh, I
based
see, the
on,
feature sheet.
Or
what
go
it
preview the
says,
house ahead of time,
or
too.
preview it ahead of time, but
Right.
you could base the, you know, your signs on what you see,
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
So-
at the house.
So now, back to our Buffini commercial.
Buffini commercial.
Yes, we have.
Popeyes are us.
We have several agents in our company, and myself, who are Buffini mentors. I just did 2 classes of the Pathways to Success, and we are hoping to schedule more for the spring.
Yep.
Pathways to Success is a 7-week course. I can't even express what a great way to get off the ground in 2020 with the skills, the marketing, the concentration on getting your database organized, the communication to your clients, and the advertising things. So I have a PowerPoint, and Ann's going to interrupt 100 times as she does her
I could just show
Ivory
it.
soap
Pass them
commercial
around.
as she shows all of her little things.
So most of these are mine and not necessarily Buffini. Buffini has some wonderful ones as well, and I've used some of theirs as well. I mean, they have great ones. The best thing I could tell you about our company is we have a bazillion logos. And our logos are so great that you could so easily just turn them right into a tag to go on something that you're going to drop by somebody's house and give them. I mean, this is a Cinco de Mayo thing that I found on LAER. It was a LAER Cinco de Mayo logo. And I just used it. No, actually, this was it. That's the LAER Cinco de Mayo logo. So I just used it and put it on my marketing.
Perfect.
And this was, I'm getting ready to do this now. After April 15th, I have a community event in Ashland where we hire a shredding truck. And it's time for you to shred those papers that were, 15 years ago. So I stopped by with scissors. And these are $1 a piece at a store, and I say, it's going to take a really long time with these. So bring all your paper, personal documents that you want shredded on the spot to this location on this day, and we'll have them shredded for you. So that's a invitation to come and a gift that I'm bringing them. But these are my favorite ones. I actually went to my office before I came here because I gave all of mine out yesterday when I went around the reservoir. So I bring these. Anybody have a dog? Okay, you walk your dog? You ever see other people walking their dogs when you walk your dog? Okay, great. So you can go over to that person walking their dog because I'm sure they need doggy bags, right? And they went up in price. I was kind of peeved.
Aw.
They used to be $1, and it was $1 for the bone and another set of bags, and there were bags already in the bone. And then on the bone, I make a sticker, just an address label sticker, that says it is my job to protect you every step of the way when it comes to real estate. Call me for all your real estate needs, okay? And real estate is not just a job to me, it is my duty to protect my clients every step of the way. So and I do have some other ones, like the doggone days of summer may be behind us, but spring market is already heating up. That's one that I also have, and it depends what time of the year, I'm going out and showing them that I use different tags. But again, then they get this, and the label is on it, and they put that on their leash, and you say to them when you give it to them, now you see how creative I am. Imagine what I would do to sell your home or help you find one.
And you're doing this, like, when you're walking your dog, or are you going
Yeah.
house to house?
No, when I'm walking my dog. I go around the reservoir in Ashland,
Yep.
and I usually bring either a bag with me, and I put 3 to 5 in it, and my goal is to give them all out, and then I use the bag to pick things up that people leave around the reservoir that make me upset. Especially when people leave doggy bags around the reservoir. It makes me really upset. So I do always tell them, but please do not leave your doggy bag, take it with you. Ice cream scoopers, great one. And I actually just learned of a farm out in South Hadley that has an ice cream truck that they rent. And I was thinking of they rent it by the hour.
Oh, that's a great
And it's an
idea.
hourly fee, it's like $500 for the hour, up to 400 cones or whatever it is, and you pick your 4 flavors. So I'm going to be getting in touch with them. Hopefully, I'll have a new Framingham office by then, and I could do it right in my parking lot and invite my clients and others, prospective clients, other client, whoever, to come and have some free ice cream and give them an ice cream cone that says, "Call me for the scoop on the real estate market."
Good idea.
And then, of course, your information is on the back. Okay, so I have those ice cream cones, and I have others. Extra gum. This is a great one of my favorites, because it says the difference between ordinary and extraordinary is that little extra. For an extraordinary real estate experience, give me a call. So this is a great one to use for expireds. Knock on their door, and you're not there to make an appointment with them. You're not there to go in at that time. You're there to make an appointment with them. You're there to say, "Hi, I saw your listing expired. I'm not sure what happened, but I'm sure you have stories to tell me." So I'd love to hear what you think happened, and see your house if you're still interested in selling. I'd really like to help you. And then take out your phone and see if you can make an appointment. And, for an extraordinary experience. I'm your girl. What? What else do we have? I have mugs. I love Christmas tree shops. We can go on a field trip if you want. So, these were on sale. I saw them advertise that they were selling these for $1 one day. They're usually, I think, $2.99. So I went and bought like 30. Something crazy. And I put, seeds in them. Oregano, basil. So they could use this as a little planter. Or they don't have to. But it's kind of cute. Put it as a planter. Give me a house to call my own. Family and flowers will make it a home. I even bring these to open houses. And I have this little basket during the open house. And, people could take little gifts if they want to. This is another one I give out when going around the reservoir on a freezing cold day, where winter is our theme. And that's our winter logo. There you go. That's our winter logo. And I have everything I touch turns to sold that I added to it. And again, it may still be cold outside, but the spring real estate market is already heating up. If I can give you a hand, please call. And they're hand warmers. And I usually include 2 packages, not just 1. So there's 2 days worth of warmers.
That's nice of you.
Or if they're going with a friend, there's 2. What else do we have?
St. Patrick's Day is coming up.
I brought one.
Of course you did. Of course you did.
I saw it in my box. I guess I had one left over. I wish you a very happy St. Patrick's Day. These cups, 5 for $1. I filled it up with candy, peppermint patties, of course. Only I don't know how much they were. A bag of 30 or 40 for $1.50 at Christmas tree shops. I even put rolled up socks in these that have St. Patrick's Day stuff on them because they were $1. And then I buy a thing of pins, put a pin in, whatever you fill it up with. You shamrock my world. So you give those out. I have measuring cups for past clients. The hardest part for me is remembering which clients I already gave it to.
They'll let you know, though.
I don't want to bring them the same ones. And I love things that I could put a tag on, okay, so that my name is always on the product. So this one, I appreciate you as a client and your referrals beyond measure. These were $1. It's measuring cups and spoons for a whole $1. And that's what's written on here. And that's what's written on the sticker. And again, it's just an address label. That's all it is an address label. Christmas Tree Shops has towels for every time of year. They will have Kiss Me I'm Irish. They will have, ones for Halloween. They will have ones for Thanksgiving. This is Give Thanks, Thanksgiving. This one is, just spring. And I like it because it was, a home sweet home. So, and they're nice towels if you buy the ones for $1.99 instead of the ones for 99 cents that are rough. These are nice, soft.
Oh,
Soft.
which one is the Peeps one? I don't think I have that in here.
Oh, I don't have any Peeps, but, Peeps
Have
are
your-
great.
Have your Peeps call my Peeps, and you put some of those
Those little
marshmallow
Peeps in them.
Peeps in there?
Yeah, those are good. And then this is another one that I use for give me a house to call my own. Family and flowers will make it a home. This one is oregano. So I didn't use the other label on it, but there's another label for ones that are time. And of course, that's when the time is right. For your give me a call for all your real estate needs.
It's
So,
just a pun on words.
you know, they're all just stickers, you know, that I make. You know, when the time is right, call me for all your real estate needs. So that's when it's time, and they're $1.50 each at Christmas tree shops. Every year they have them. And then when I go on market analyses, I love to leave, like she left flowers. That's really nice.
Yeah.
I don't leave flowers, but I always leave them with Mr. Clean. Before you go painting, before you go, you know, try using these, you know, Mr. Clean magic erasers. And of course it says with Ann Silverman in your corner, you can expect all to be squeaky clean from start to finish.
There you go.
So, you know, just a sticker that I throw on there, and then I just came up with this one actually with another agent that came to my office to talk to me about them. And we came up with this one. Well, we found it. I'm not saying we reinvent the wheel. We saw one on Pinterest and we changed it a little. But there's tons of these on Pinterest.
Claudia?
What? Yeah, Claudia.
Yeah.
So we came up with whether the weather is hot or cold, you can count on me to get them bought or sold. So that could be at an open house for anybody. We were trying to think what we would put in it, and we thought of put a couple of hot tea things in a baggie and like a Crystal Light iced tea packet as well in the baggie, 2 of those, and attach this to it.
That's a great idea.
And in everything you put your business cards. You always, like the doggy bags has my business card and a magnet. You know, so if I have magnets, I use them.
And you also have a basket of these at your open houses,
At
so
the open
people
houses.
feel that they're leaving with a little treat.
And, you know, those are the prizes that the kids get to choose. You know, when they leave, they can have a gum, if they have a dog, they can have doggy bags. They like the ice cream cones. This one, if you put sprinkles in, it has a shaker. I don't know if they really fit through, but I've never tried. And, I don't know. There's always things you could find that you could do. If you just look around. Any questions on
No,
any of
thank
that?
you very much, Ann, for being here.
Good.
And as you could see, just so you could see, I'm just gonna, this one was a, that's a Buffini one.
Is she out of the
Just
camera?
popping by to wish you a very happy new year, but on the back I put our LAER
It's perfect.
logo, and we have a logo for everything. Do your job. You know, the Patriots when it's football season. This is a LAER logo. Okay, I just added, take the trickery out of real estate and treat yourself to a true professional.
Right here. Yeah.
So, you know, that one goes, you know, with Halloween treats or whatever you want to add it to. And the list just goes on.
Thank you very much.
My goodies. You're welcome.